Hi everyone. Today we have Chirag with us. He's a student of New Jersey Institute of Technology, and he will be sharing his journey with ConnectBud today. Welcome, Chirag. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking, and I really appreciate your time. So let's begin with your educational background. Tell us about your bachelor's and master's.
Sure. So I started my bachelor's at NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology.
Mm-hmm.
Started as a information systems major. I
Mm-hmm.
graduated with an undergrad. I started working for about 3 to 4 years now, and yeah, I'm pursuing my MBA now, and I'm doing it at NJIT again. It's an online program, so it's currently in process. So hopefully soon, I'll be able to graduate.
And what's your major in your MBA, and what was the area of specialization when you were doing your bachelor's?
So I did information systems. It's the program they have is called Business and Information Systems.
Mm-hmm.
So it concentrates on the IT information systems side, and also on the business aspect. So you learn three aspects. You learn the business, you learn finance, and then you learn information systems. So it's come in handy. I've been working in the field for quite some time now. So
Mm-hmm.
um, that has helped. Now, pursuing the MBA, my concentration is going to be mainly towards finance, because that's
Okay.
where the expertise is.
Okay. And when you were looking for the colleges, even when you were doing your bachelor's, uh, did you apply to multiple college, and did you had some criteria before choosing NJIT over other colleges who offered you admission?
Yeah. So, I did apply to quite a few colleges. I wanted to stay close to where my parents are. We're
Mm-hmm.
based in New Jersey, so in the tri-state area, which is New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. So I applied to Rutgers, NJIT, Penn
Mm-hmm.
State, State University of New York. So those were
Okay.
my four schools that I kind of wanted to stay at because they're all state schools and they're
Mm-hmm.
around the area where I live.
Okay. And was there any particular reason you chose NJIT over other colleges?
Yeah. So NJIT was the only school that offered your the program I was looking for. They all the colleges offered information systems, but NJIT was the only one that has business and information systems at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
it helps you. I kind of read about it, and that interested me because I'm not only learning the IT aspect. They start
Mm-hmm.
you from day one as they start preparing you towards the real life situation and real life classes from day one. A lot
Okay.
of the schools, they do offer information systems, but they require you to take prerequisites and so forth. So I thought NJIT being close to home
Mm-hmm.
was the right choice.
Okay. And I also want to understand from a student's point of view, if you get, admission from multiple university, what kind of criteria should a student keep in mind? I understand other than in your case, it was proximity to your, parents' house and
Uh,
other the subject of choice that you were getting. So other than that, is there any other criteria that clicks you, which a student should keep in mind?
Yeah, it goes by preference, right? So, cost is a major factor.
Mm-hmm.
Me being in state, New Jersey, Rutgers and NJIT would have been the cheapest.
Okay.
Penn State would have been a lot more because it is a state university of Pennsylvania, so we don't get the in-state tuition. And
Mm-hmm.
same goes for New York. But what kind of drove me was, the size of the campus, the student to professor ratio. And the courses that they offered. I kind of looked into all four schools, but NJIT had a lot better ratio. Had better. It's a smaller campus, so you get the experience to being on campus a
Mm-hmm.
lot better than going to a multi-campus school.
Okay.
So it kind of depends on what you're looking for.
Okay. And now coming to your SAT score, I know you should have written it long back when you enrolled into your bachelor's undergrads. So, do you remember what was your SAT score, and how did you prepare for those exams? If you can tell our viewers
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I took it multiple times, so I took it I think twice. My
about it.
highest score was 1120. Uh,
Okay.
um, you know, uh, I remember that it was out of 1600 at that time. They changed it to 24. Now it's back to 16. So
Mm-hmm.
it that was a decent score for me to get into all four schools that I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the greatest of score, but it was a competitive score.
Okay. And also, in your opinion, is the SAT score or the GPA which matters a lot when it comes to getting admit from universities?
Um, I think they both play a significant role. With the GPA, if it's low, then you want your score to be high. They kind of work hand in hand. If you have a low score but you have a good GPA, schools tend to take a look at that too. But I think every school has a threshold, a minimum requirement of SAT. They don't say it, but every school has a minimum score that candidates should have to be even considered. So even
Okay.
if you have a 4.0 and you score 900, a school's not going to look at you because you don't meet the minimum requirement. I mean,
Okay.
that's just my opinion. That's my understanding of what it was back then.
Okay, got it. And also, I believe the visa wasn't an issue as you were already in US for applying for student visa and all. So I want to understand in terms of loan, did you take any student loan from any of the financial institute or bank for your bachelor's and master's?
Yeah, I mean, I applied, directly through the school. So I did get federal funding.
Mm-hmm.
It is income based. I mean, at that time, I think my parents, would have applied. But I did apply for FAFSA, which is, the government, the federal aid that
Okay,
schools
FAFSA.
get.
Okay,
Right.
and you were given a grant.
Right.
Okay. And other than, the bank which you said, or, which you would recommend, is there any other popular bank that you want to, tell about our viewers? Maybe your student, your other fellow, classmate would have taken loan from.
Um, so if you don't get qualified through FAFSA
Mm.
because you're out of country, I would kind of aim for, larger institutions. They do offer, um, I mean, from what my understanding is, like say
Mm.
Wells Fargo or Bank of America,
Okay.
banks like these, they do have Chase Bank, which is, an international bank. So they do offer good rates for students outside the country.
Okay. That's good. And let's talk about the college campus. How big is the college campus? And tell us about the infrastructure.
So when I started, it wasn't big. I think it was roughly four buildings that we had that held classes, and then there's an auditorium, a gym, and then there's, I think, they had on campus housing for students, which was connected right to the buildings. So it was a small campus. It was, I'd say, about 3 to 4 blocks, and it felt like, it's a much smaller campus than what the other schools I've been visiting. So
Okay.
yeah, so it
And
was,
did you live in a dormitory by any chance when you were in your undergrads?
I didn't know,
Okay.
but yeah, it's an easier commute. That's why like, my
Mm-hmm.
preference was being close to home, so I wasn't on campus.
Okay. And how was the general environment inside the campus? Is it like people studious, and like, if you can
Um,
just tell about that?
it's a mix, right? So there are times when, obviously, um, so it's the campus, since it was small, everyone knew
Mm-hmm.
each other. Obviously, it wasn't such a big class, so everyone in your class knew each other. So they have, I mean, study rooms and all that. So it, it's it was a close environment. Students did kind of mingle, and it wasn't just, let's just have, study rooms and only one person can be in it. We had we had
Okay.
we had a good time. I mean, it's a small campus, so you get the friendly environment that a lot of students miss out on a smaller campus.
And to know one another like really well, each other really well, right? When it's very small.
Yeah, I mean, now it's a bigger campus, but a lot more
Mm.
students. And they have a ton of, when I was there, we had their graduate program. They have a lot of international students. A lot of students from
Okay.
India are going there.
Yeah, NGIT is quite popular
Right.
that ways. Okay, now let's talk about program and sports activities. NGIT famous for any particular program or sports activity?
So they're pretty, so when I went there, they were Division 3 school, which is, I mean, D3 is not nationally known. So
Mm-hmm.
they recently converted all their sports to Division 1, which is, pretty much at the national level. So their
Okay.
soccer program is pretty popular. The soccer is very, very popular. We have a soccer field on campus, which is right next to
Mm-hmm.
the buildings. But obviously, they play at, the games are played elsewhere. But soccer is popular. Basketball, they do have a cricket team,
Mm-hmm.
which plays in the New Jersey Softball League, and they also have, I believe, a red ball team. So
Okay.
it's pretty popular. Sports
Okay.
are, it's getting there.
Okay. And let's talk about facilities inside the campus. Let's begin with library and labs. How many libraries are there and labs are there?
There's one library. I don't know now. I'm not, like, I haven't been on campus for a couple of years now, but there was one large enough library. Study rooms are there. Um, I'm sorry, what was the other part you asked?
Lab. Is there, are
There
there
are,
like,
yeah, there's some labs there. There are computer labs. Obviously, there, one in each or a couple in each building,
mm-hmm.
for students to take advantage of. Plenty of, room for everyone. Small campus, but never felt like I had
Crowded?
to wait. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And let's talk about gym and recreational facilities inside the campus.
There is a gym, open to all the students. There's, I think, a Olympic-sized swimming pool now.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's pretty large.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it never felt like I didn't have access to it.
And is it, I mean, is it free for student or you have to pay extra?
I think back then it was free. I'm not sure now. As long
Okay.
as you have your student ID, you can get in.
Okay. And recreational facilities, other than, I mean, what do students do on campus for recreational?
Um, one one major plus was, since the school didn't want students to go out at night, or didn't want, they wanted to kind of keep the students close.
Mm-hmm.
NJIT was the only school that had a bar on campus, inside
Okay.
the school. So you get, they had discounted drinks for students. It was a big plus for people from not going out, being safe.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Yeah.
cared about their safety. They also have a large cafeteria. They have a Taco Bell on campus. I mean, we were the only one at that time that had it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a good dining area. They have an outdoor dining area. They host barbecue events and a lot of events to keep the students on campus when
Okay.
to just to have them enjoy the time when they're not in class.
Okay. And let's talk about healthcare and medical facilities. Is there a hospital on campus?
There's not a hospital, from what I recall, but it's very close. I mean, the hospital UMDNJ was pretty
Mm-hmm.
much like a couple of blocks out. You could walk there.
And is it like accessible? You can just go walk in, or you just need to have some kind of appointment, prior appointment
Um,
to see doctors?
it's a big hospital. I mean, you can walk in. Obviously, there's,
Okay.
like any other hospital, you can just walk in and get
So
yourself checked
quite
out.
convenient for student. Okay.
Yeah.
And how good is the career center, and what kind of career service facilities does NGIT provide to students?
They did have, they do have the resources. Obviously there's career training. They'll help you with resumes, and they'll sit down with you, career, and kind of counsel you when needed. There's also a portal that they use for companies
Mm-hmm.
that they work with, for students, who want to pick up internships while they're there, or like maybe after they graduate, if
Mm-hmm.
they want to explore it. I have access to it, or I mean, I haven't checked recently, but even after graduating, they give access to students where, they'll help you find a job with companies that they work for. So they'll
Mm-hmm.
get internal postings and so forth.
Okay. And what are the options of on-campus job for student? And did you do any on-campus job when you were, an undergrads there?
I didn't do an on-campus job. I did work part-time outside of campus, but there
Mm-hmm.
are opportunities on campus. There's obviously library, there's labs that students can work at. There's quite a few opportunities. I mean, depends on what you're looking for, but yeah, I personally didn't work on campus.
Okay. And how easy is to get teaching assistantship and research assistantship job in on campus for
Um,
like a graduate student?
Honestly, I never tried, but there are, like I said, there are, good amount of opportunities where a student teacher can, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I remember from what I remember, a few of my classes did have, TAs where they were current students and, they're helping out. So I did see it, and the opportunities are there. I just don't know how easy it'd be.
Okay. And now coming back to internship is something which every student wants to do. So how easy is to get an internship, and did you personally do internship with any of the firm when you were a graduate or an undergraduate
Um,
student?
I didn't pick up an internship while I was in school because like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I was working part-time and I thought it was a decent job for me to, keep
Mm-hmm.
while I was a full-time student. But like I said, internships are the school work with a lot of companies in the area,
Mm-hmm.
New York, New Jersey. There's a ton of corporate offices in that area. I mean, Amazon Audible is literally 2 blocks away. So Audible at that time was, not a startup, but it was coming up. So a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity when I was there, a lot of the opportunities that come from them. A lot of the hospitals that the school works with. So a good amount of opportunities, good amount of companies in the area. So
Okay.
it's pretty easy if you really try.
Okay. And I want to understand for international student, is there a restriction or a criteria which needs to be filled in before they apply for internship?
Um,
In case you
I
know.
don't. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know about if there's such a policy. But I think if you're a student, I don't see
Hmm.
why it'd be an issue if you're a full-time student.
Okay. So now let's talk about courses in your program in specific. Do you think some additional courses, if a student does it, there are higher chances of landing into a potential internship or a job?
From my major, like, is that what you're
Mm-hmm.
asking? So,
Yeah, from
um,
your major.
yeah, I mean, so from what I majored, I mean, they don't heavily focus on coding and programming. We did take
Mm-hmm.
like Java 101 or C++, but the opportunities at that time when I went to school, if you knew programming, I mean, you had a big edge on everyone around you.
Okay.
So I would say, if you're going into like IT or like, I mean, not IT, IT is pretty broad, but like say concentration like computer science or something, you'd want to kind of pick up or brush up on a lot of the coding and all that, all the new technologies that come out.
Okay. And for all those students who are not local and they don't decide to, stay in campus, so what are the ways of finding a reliable, roommate and a good apartment, if you would like to talk about
I mean, I had a few friends that did that. So
that? Mm-hmm.
they stayed in, so New Jersey is like the melting pot of, and of all diversities, right? So we have the Edison area, which is about 30 minutes from the school.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jersey City, which is about, say, 15 minutes from the school. And these are heavily Indian populated areas where a lot of students live.
Mm-hmm.
They'll rent out an apartment and they'll be able to kind of live together and pretty much a portion of the price of what it would be if you were on campus.
Okay.
So there's a ton of housing available.
Okay. And now coming to faculty, I want to know who is your favorite professor and what is that you really like about that professor?
Um, so we call him Professor E, and he was our capstone professor. I mean, the last year we work on a project. Um, so I mean, that's our graduating project, last thing that we do before we leave the school. So I had a lot of fun in this class because you work with everyone from your class, not just the specific course you're taking, but everyone from your graduating class, and you work on certain projects that you're interested in. So you get to pick what you want to work on. You get to pick the companies you want to work with. So it's more it, not book oriented, but like you kind of get to explore the world, and you kind of get to explore opportunities outside of the school
Mm-hmm.
to work on something that actually is going to be used by an actual company.
Okay. So
So
more of an industry oriented approach, right?
yeah, basically. So and you get to kind of help the company, with their struggles at that time. I mean, obviously, it's a smaller struggle, but you
Mm-hmm.
get to kind of contribute to that, which is a good thing.
Mm.
I enjoyed
That
it.
that's really good. And other than this professor, is there any other professor in NGIT who is really famous among student or in general because of his contribution or uh, for any other reason?
Um, Honestly, I don't recall. Like, I mean, there are good professors. I just don't
Okay.
just
Okay.
don't know the names on the top of my head.
Let's now talk about student club and association on campus. So, did you how in overall how many student club and association would be there on campus? And in specific, have you participated in any of which is your favorite? Like I should ask this.
I didn't, honestly, I didn't. Like I said, I was so busy working part time
Mm-hmm.
and being in school. There is time for me to. I kind of balanced my life that way. I didn't join any, clubs on campus. So I
Okay.
don't have much of an idea on that. So I mean, there are there. I never participated.
Okay. And in general, what do students do for entertainment other than being a part of these student club and fraternities?
Um, at that time, I mean, there are, like I said, the campus is small, but so everyone knew each other. So you're pretty much
Mm-hmm.
playing outdoors. There's a lot of playing field. Like I like playing, when I say playing field, like sports activities that you can
Mm-hmm.
play on campus because they had the room. There are students really just hanging out. I mean, it all depends on what your interests were, but
Okay.
the
Okay.
everyone was there having a good time.
Okay, and now regarding your curriculum, and let's talk about it is its intensity. How intense is it? Like, in if I have to ask you in a week, how many hours do you spend listening to lectures, doing homework, and project?
Um, I mean, quite a bit of time. I mean, it's not intense, but like they start you for on the courses from day one. So there's no such thing as like, your prerequisite classes where you kind of would know stuff from the previous year. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to put in your time. If I was to estimate, I mean, I'm putting in, good, maybe 3 hours, 4 hours a week per class, depending on how many credits you're taking.
Mm-hmm.
So it adds up. I mean, I'd say close to 30, 35 hours at least.
Okay, and how would you rate the academic pressure and workload in your major on the scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest?
Um, the workload was there. I'd say about a 7.
Okay.
But it balanced, right? So I mean, as a student, the workload I felt was a little more for me because I was working part
Mm-hmm.
time.
Okay,
Uh,
so it might vary with others.
yeah, it
Okay.
might vary, right?
And tell us about the course structure in your program. Anything, I mean, is there anything specific you really like about it or you don't like about it?
Um, the the structure was fine. I mean, like they don't. So you kind of start off on your major courses from your first year, so you're not wasting time. So a lot of schools, what they do is they'll have you, for the first 2 years, you'll be taking,
Mm-hmm.
required courses that you can use. So if you're undecided, you can use those 2 years as, your whatever, and then you'll start your major classes on the third year. NJIT
Mm-hmm.
does it a little different. So what they'll do is they'll start you off on your, like, say you pick information systems. I started my IS courses in my year one.
Okay.
So it kind of they broke it out over 4 years, so it's not just information overload in like the last 2 years. So that helped because that balances out a lot of your learning and understanding process.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I let's talk about expense as education come with an expense, and this will help our aspiring students to prepare accordingly. So, what is the tuition fee that you are you incurred for the course, the graduate course where you're enrolled in, and what was the tuition fee you paid for the undergrad?
Um, from what I remember, undergrad per semester was about, for me, it was a lot cheaper because obviously I said it in
Yeah,
state.
you got
Uh,
FAFSA. Yeah,
I think about 7,000 per semester.
7,000 per semester.
Right.
Okay.
Uh, and then now with graduate, it's right about the same because I still get. I don't think there's such a thing of uh, for graduate. There's no like in-state discount, but I think there's right now my tuition for the first semester was about 8,900, so it's right about there.
Okay. And how many semesters you need to complete to graduate?
So it's a 2-year program.
2 year.
If you a 2-year online MBA program, they have multiple MBA programs. You could be on campus, so you could stretch it out for I think 2.5 years to 3 years. This
Mm-hmm.
program is a 2-year program where I'll take fall or spring, summer, fall for 2
Okay.
straight years.
Okay.
So 6
And
semesters.
now let's talk about scholarship. Other for international students specific, you have told that you got qualified for FAFSA, but for international student, does college provide any kind of need-based or merit-based scholarship?
I don't think I'm not sure 100%, but I don't think that's provided for international
Mm-hmm.
students. There may be other like outside scholarships that they can apply for, but I don't recall or learning about like a school program or school sponsored scholarship for international
Okay.
students.
Okay, and let's talk about your future plans after you complete your, education. What is that you plan to do and, pursue?
Um, I mean, hopefully, someday hold some an executive position, but currently I work in finance, so I that's why I'm doing my MBA concentrated in finance. So hopefully it kind of leads me to a higher role.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, possibly like an assistant controller or something of that sort in the
Okay.
future.
And where are you working right now, Chirag? Because I believe it's an online course for you, right? So
Yeah,
are
so
you working somewhere?
I do work full time. I work for a company called Univision Communications. They're they're a media broadcast company.
Mm-hmm. And you're working there in the capacity of an, software engineer,
No,
or
I'm an analyst
you're
in
an
the company.
analyst there.
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to understand for those students who do not find job on completion of the course, how does Career Center and how does Career Counselor help them?
Um, I mean, they're always available. So right now, I mean, I'm talking like say, even though I have an online course, I have access to a counselor
Mm-hmm.
to assist me, whether it's financial questions or even career-based questions. They'll help you with the course structure. They'll kind of guide you what courses you need to take to stay in line to graduate on time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're there. I mean, they're accessible if you need help in that sense.
Okay. And also, I want to understand if you can name few of the companies who hire student from your program in specific and in general from NGIT.
Um, so Amazon is a big one. From what I recall,
Mm-hmm.
Audible,
Mm-hmm.
part of Amazon, since it's so close to where NGIT is, we had a lot of students get offers from there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few hospitals, locally that were pretty uh, popular among students. And since we're close to New York City, I mean, a lot of the companies based out of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing something in like information technology or finance, I mean that's the hub where a lot of companies are based. So and if you're in the medical field, like say biomedical engineering or something like that, we have major hospitals in New Jersey that are connected to the school, like Johnson and Johnson. I mean, not hospitals, pharmaceutical companies.
Pharmaceutical
Like,
companies.
yeah, pharmaceutical companies like Johnson and Johnson, Novo Nordisk. We have McNeil Pharmaceuticals. So there's a ton of pharmaceuticals in New Jersey, and there's a ton of finance and IT based companies in New York, which is 30 minutes from from where the school is. So a lot of
Okay.
students do get picked up from there.
Okay. And I want to know, would you like to advise the future student, any advice that you want to give it to them in general or related to your course?
In general, I mean, it is just NJIT based, or you're asking overall?
Yeah, overall, any advice that you feel as a student, it was good if you got it from someone else?
Definitely put your time into your courses. I mean, if you're trying to wait and cramp the information at the last minute, it's not going to work. Obviously you can. There are bright students that would be able to do it, but from what I learned from my experience, I mean, you're going to have to put time into your courses. So if you're thinking that, just reading a chapter or two and kind of taking the exam is going to help in the future, it might, but in most cases, you're going to have to understand the material. So, it takes time for that, especially in like information systems where, you're kind of working with in the corporate environment, you're working with the IT team and the business side, and you're trying to kind of bring them together. So you need to understand what the processes are and what is needed to kind of bridge the gap between the businesses to kind of
yeah,
help
it's
the
good to
company.
invest time for something which you would be building your
Yeah,
career on. Yeah.
pretty much, right? So you don't want to waste your time just getting a passing grade. I mean, it's always going to help if you understand the material.
Okay. And coming to our last question, if you want to talk about one mistake that you would have made, which you absolutely don't want a future student to make, and if you haven't made such mistake, and anything which you have learned from your friends' life or
No,
other
I
students.
definitely have. I've made the mistake. So
Okay.
I would say pick up an internship. It goes a long way. Me, I didn't pick up an internship. So when I graduated, I kind of sat at home for 6 to 8 months because the search was at that time. I mean, I graduated during a recession time too, so it wasn't the easiest time. But it would help if you have an internship. But a lot of companies do look at that now, especially with the market being so competitive. A lot of students are getting their undergrad and getting their grad or their masters. Pick up an internship. I mean, that it goes a long way. What you learn in a corporate environment is going to help you get to the next step in your life.
Okay, and since it's a time where everyone is fighting this pandemic, coronavirus, so I want to understand, do you want to tell any tips that you want to give it to a future student who are wanting to enroll, what they should do and what they should not do at this point?
I'm sorry, I missed the
Yeah,
first part of the question.
so because of do you have any suggestions for student, especially when they are planning to enroll into NJIT or any other institute, especially when there's a pandemic around that world is fighting?
No, I mean so all the schools, so it goes by preference, but all the schools are going to have their precautions in place. But it's a matter of if you want a large campus or a small campus, how your environment, how you want your environment to be for the next 4 years or 3 years or however long your master's or undergrad is.
Yeah, because nothing is permanent. Maybe down the line in a couple of months it might go away.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's better. Anyways, thank you so much, Chirag. And I want to tell the viewers that you would be one of our experts on ConnectBud platform. They can send you one-on-one message, and you can give them the guidance and mentorship needed. And I really appreciate your willingness to help aspiring students. Thank you so much, Chirag.
No issues. I mean, I'm glad I was able to help, and anyone obviously can reach out. I'm sure you'll put my contact information there. So if they have questions, I'll be more than happy to assist.
Thank you so much. And you have a nice one.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for your time.